Welcome to Cosmic Channels. I'm your host, Braden. This is your Cosmic Call-In show. I just host it. Hey, get yourself some stickers. Look in the description here. Go grab some stickers, and they're unreal. Best stickers on the planet. Make sure to check it out. You're probably hearing a little echo. That's because we already got a caller on the line. We got Kyoto from New Jersey on the line. Kyoto, can you just pause the live stream for me, if you don't mind?
Yep. I just got it muted.
Beauty. What's going on tonight?
Right, I wanted to call in about a possible UFO sighting I saw about a couple months ago.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so I was driving down 55 in Jersey, and I got cruise control going. I look up, and I'm thinking to myself, why does the Big Dipper look weird? Holy shit, that's not the Big Dipper. Those are a bunch of orange orbs vaguely in the shape of the Big Dipper. I pull over because I am not messing around with my phone going 75 miles an hour down a very curvy highway. Right when I manage to pull over, I can't see anything because of the trees. And
So,
I grew up with a...
Was this in the shape? Like it was in the shape of the Big Dipper?
Kind of, but it looked wrong.
What do you mean by that?
If you saw it through a glass sphere, or if you drew a vague shape of it on a piece of paper and then kind of curved it, it looked vaguely like the Big Dipper, but not exactly.
So what started to alert you that something's up?
These were bright orange, and after that registered, as I was basically pulling over, it was these lights are not up in the sky. They are too far down. And when I was younger, my dad, he's a very big air and space person. He worked with the FAA. He would take me out and be like, okay, we're going to go watch the space shuttle, fly by in the atmosphere, or space shuttle, satellite.
Yeah.
It's this is what Orion's Belt looks like. This is what the Big Dipper looks like. Get in the car. We're going to go to the fields area. We're going to see a space shuttle launch for fun. So he basically taught me what to look for natural or explainable things, but this was not explainable.
So you see these orange lights. What are they doing? What's setting you off to this? That there's something amiss.
They were just, I don't know how to explain it besides that they were too close to the ground and not looking like anything I've personally seen. I don't know if they were lanterns, drones, or for the out there idea on the other side of alien hovercrafts, little hover bikes.
Well, the interesting thing is, it's I've seen a ton of, and the only way I can describe them is they almost look like flares, right? Hanging in the sky. I see them on MUFON all the time, and they kind of look like flares that just don't go away, and they just kind of drift at night, and they'll fade in and fade out. I've seen tons of different clips of stuff like that. So when you say these bright orange lights, I that's kind of what I picture in my head, is that these these flare looking lights. But did they drift or anything, or were they stationary in the sky?
They were stationary, and the first thing I did right when I got off the highway was message my dad being like, hey, were there any flare drops in the area, like specifically between these two exits on 55? And he was like, I'm going to go look, because he's a big air and space guy. He follows this kind of thing for fun. And he was like, no, there's no reports of that.
So you're checking with your dad to kind of do background check, because he would have some easy access to eliminate some things.
Yeah.
So
And
so when you pulled over, do these things disappear? They just hang there? Like, where does this go from there? What ends up happening?
like, I pulled over, they were completely blocked by trees.
Yeah.
I could not get a photo of it. I get back on the highway, and then I see a few more on the other side of the highway. And by the time I'm able to get to my exit, I can't see any of them to actually get a photo of them.
So then they're gone from the sky from where you saw them before.
Yeah. And they were maybe closer to the exit that I took than the last one. So I should have been able to see them, but I couldn't find them again.
Well, and if they were stars, you would expect that, like, the Earth isn't rotating that fast, where they're all of a sudden going to be underneath the horizon that quickly.
Yeah. And then like through looking or keeping my eyes on the skies from what my dad taught me, they were way too low to be aircraft. My area of Jersey, we don't have that many airports to be supporting that kind of activity.
Well, and it's strange because, like, if it was an airplane or helicopter, like, you would expect to see some movement, and your description of these things is they're just kind of suspended in place.
Yeah, and like since I learned all this stuff from my dad about what airplanes look like at night, what helicopters look like, these did not look like stereotypical airplanes or helicopters. They just look like free-floating orange orbs.
Yeah, that's strange. I mean, but that's not an uncommon description from, like, a lot of UFO videos that I've seen, is these, sometimes they're drifting, these orange lights. Sometimes they're just, people have videos of them and they pop up like an orange, almost like 3 points of a triangle in the sky.
Right.
And they'll just stay there, and then, like, one will fade out, then the other, and then the other, and then they're gone. So it is interesting. I would, I've seen very similar things to what you're describing on reported UFO events on MUFON. So I mean, I'm trying to think if I have one. I have one on a couple on my hard drive, but they're not put away. I didn't know you were going to call in with this, or I would have had one of the videos prepared. Because I kept one of them. There's one in Philadelphia, or Mesa, Arizona, I remember, and it's just super weird. And it's just, you look at these orange lights and they're just hanging there, and you're kind of like, why? What are they doing? And then they just kind of disappear one by one. So it's like, it's hard to say, like, could this, what you were seeing, was there any discernible shape, like you said, loosely like Big Dipper, but could these be illuminating the edges of a larger craft? What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I couldn't tell because, again, I was going 70, 75 miles down the highway.
Yeah.
In a heavily wooded area. I couldn't tell you. Like, as soon as I realized that what I was seeing was something odd, I immediately pulled over, and it got blocked by trees.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting account. And when did this happen?
About September 21st.
Of this year.
Yeah.
Interesting. And did you go on any of the flight tracker or anything and rewind the, see if there's anything kind of in that area?
Yeah, I couldn't find anything. And again, I checked with my dad. No sort of flare drops that it could have been.
Interesting.
Or that he could find.
Well, you gotta. It's a weird one, man. It's a very strange account you have. Just seeing these weird lights. It's left a lasting impression on you, though? I guess you're calling in.
Yeah.
So
I get the other older stories out first.
What's your sense on it? Like, now that you've had time to reflect on it, think about what you saw. What's your final thoughts on it?
Logically, probably very weird stationary lanterns, but also the other side of that, the extreme side of that, would be alien hovercrafts.
Well, you're thinking, China lanterns aren't a bad way to think, but they would drift, right? They would drift apart. They wouldn't really fly in unison. They wouldn't drift in unison. I mean, if there was a breeze, but you would kind of see that. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Kyoto, thank you so much for calling in, being that first caller of the night. You do what few people do, and that's call in early. You want to get that call, 5-10 minutes early. I'm here. Usually just messing around with the lines. So thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome.
All right, and hopefully your account inspires other people to share their experience.
Call in, folks. Make it a UFO night.
All right, talk to you later, Kyoto. Thank you so much.
Well, later.
Bye. Lines are open 1-833-703-0424. Listen, you seen weird lights in the sky? You've been keeping those eyes on the sky. I wanna hear about it. Tell me about it. I had call some priority. I'll tell about my shared experience later on. Here, let's go to caller. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
JJ, calling from Great Smoky Mountains, North Carolina.
Hey, what's going on, JJ? How are you tonight?
Not too horribly bad, man. Got some good weather, thank God.
Beauty.
Yes, very much.
What do you got for us?
Yeah, man, this is something. I'm of your older class of viewers, probably. I'm 55. Been listening to you guys for years, but talking to a friend of mine that this happened back in 86 to 88 down in Carolina Beach, North Carolina, which is just outside of Wilmington, North Carolina. Basically, Carolina Beach is an island. Atlantic Ocean on one side, the Cape Fear River on the other side. Cape Fear River is a huge shipping national ports are there. There's also the largest military ammunition. Sunny Point is on the end of that river. And what's right next to that is a nuclear power plant. Why they put both of those side by side? Sitting there one night.
I mean, that way the aliens, don't have far to go to check out everything.
No, they can actually do it all at one shot. It's pretty damn quick. Being out cruising one night, man, we're sitting down, just chilling. Me and my buddies, there's about 10 other people sitting there. We're just hanging out at a car wash. Look over it, and everybody's like, what the hell is that? And I later got into the aircraft field professionally. And this thing, looking back on it, was about the size of a 747. Just a long, it would look like a Tic Tac. I mean, that's what it was, this huge long cylinder. And it was cruising down that river, going straight to that military base. And we all stood there looking at it. And this thing's huge. And it's not but maybe 50 yards, 100 yards off the river. You see 2 or 3 lights on it, but other than that, it's just very slick, very... This is about 1 in the morning. No alcohol, no drugs involved. Slick, long tube. Couple of lights on it. You can just let it clear, like a clearish, whitish lights. No sound. And it was just cruising down the river.
And how big? How big about? Did you say?
No, this is not a boat. This thing was about 100 yards off the surface.
Sorry, that's my Canadian accent. How
yeah,
big? How big? About? Not a.
Oh, about, not a boat. Yeah.
That's my
Yeah,
the damn
I
Canadian
don't know.
accent gets me again. Yeah, approximately how big?
Well, it was every bit the fuselage of like a 747. It was huge. I mean, you're talking what 75 foot long, 100 foot long,
Yeah, that's enormous.
and and as it cruises by, we're all like a half a mile from seeing this thing. It goes down the river. There's probably 10, 11 of us standing there. And my best friend, we were just talking about this the other night, which is the reason I'm calling you guys, because I can't believe he remembered it. I've remembered this my entire life. What was weird is that most of them just turned back and went back to what they were doing. 3 or 4 of us looked at each other and went, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah,
It was weird, man. Very weird.
So how fast was it moving? Does it just come in, like kind of drift in, drift out?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it might have been cruising, 30, 50 miles an hour.
Now,
I mean, it was not cruising. And I'm also having to judge time and distance, you know.
yeah.
But, yeah, with that being said, I would say way less than 100 miles an hour, 50 to 75.
Now, you said there's some lights on it. How many lights are we talking about?
There a handful, 2, 3, 4.
Interesting.
I distinctly remember 2. My buddy said there was 4 to 5.
Any color? Did you notice any color or anything on the craft or the lights?
It was a very dark silverish gray against the nighttime sky.
I mean,
Lights were that very very clear whitish looking lights, if you can understand what I'm saying.
yeah.
They weren't brilliant white. There's like, it just had that glowy look to it, you know. And no sound, and you can see underneath it, you can see above it, you can see side to side of it, because it's going down over top of a river. You know what I mean? I mean, over a huge river.
Yeah.
You can see the water, you can see the woods on the other side. It's just, and no sound. That's the other thing that was so crazy, is the size of it. And like I said, we're maybe a half a mile from a quarter mile, half a mile.
Now,
And it was just wild.
yeah, it's crazy because like that's like it, I mean, you hear about the cigar UFOs all the time, and that's kind of what it sounds like you've seen here is like it's just so weird. Like perfectly cylinder, more like a cigar, less like a blimp.
Yes, more like a cigar than a blimp. Yes,
Yeah.
it was tube. It was a tube, essentially.
And I mean, the context of where you're talking about. So you got a nuclear facility, an ammunition depot. It's interesting because you're like, this is, what we hear about these things coming and looking for.
Yeah, and it took me years to put together what was at the mouth of that river. I mean, I knew what was there, but it took me years to put this story in my head together with, wait a minute, the nuclear power plant's right there. Oh my God, Sunny Point Ammunition Depot is right next to it. And that's on this river, and that's not but about a mile, 2 miles from where we were at. In fact, where we're at, they actually have sirens there in case something goes wrong with the nuke plant or the damn ammunition plant. And the sirens go off, everybody has to evacuate the beach. They evacuate that little island. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
What's even weirder, man, is why did these other people, and he's talked to 1 or 2, and I've talked to 1 or 2, they don't remember it, but there's about 4 of us that remember it, and we all have the same exact memory of it after years and years. But those other ones didn't. They just went back to like they didn't see anything, like nothing happened.
That's the weirdest thing because, like, did they not notice? Like, that's the thing that's kind of sticking with me.
They were standing there with their mouths open looking, and then they just turned around like nothing happened, went back to what they were talking about the cars. And this was back in the lowrider days, with the cars and the stereos and all that shit.
Yeah.
And so they just turned back around to their cars and went back to talking. And like, there's 4 or 5 of us turned and looked at each other and went, "What the fuck, dude? What was that?"
Yeah.
You know, and the rest of them, it's like they didn't see it or didn't remember they just saw it. And they don't remember to this day, though. The one that I talked to and my buddies talked to 2 of them.
And they have just zero.
We were all 17, 18 years old, you know?
No missing time or anything like that?
Not that I remember. I know it was late at night, and I know that we all sat around there and talked, but I don't remember looking at the time. I did look this up on MUFON out of shits and giggles probably a year ago, and found where in that same time frame, 1986 to 1988, there was sightings reported to MUFON in that area.
Well, one that, I mean, just the description of the slow travel, to me, that drifting, there was one someone told me up here on Vancouver Island that happened late 80s, early 90s. And same thing, it was like a stormy night, and this thing, they described it as looking like almost like a tube, like a cigar, but they didn't say cigar, but they said the bottom looked like the bottom of like your stereotypical like air mattress, like there was like all holes, like
really
almost, and it they said it was like as long as a football field, they figured, and it just drifted into sight. There was a whole bunch of people like at this lookout spot that saw it. It drifted into sight and then drifted out of sight into the clouds. You know, maybe they had 30 seconds, maybe they got a good look at this thing. And it's just that slow drift, right? That same thing. Silence, like just kind of cruising, no real, speed or anything to it. Just drifting. And it makes me think with all like the surveillance balloons and weather balloons, like, that we've seen in recent years with China and stuff, that it's like, you're talking about the 80s. And if you think about the balloons that they were flying over the States to spy, they look like balloons. So it's like to sit there and be like, maybe these things are some sort of balloons. It's like, well, no, we don't even have we would see more of those balloons.
We don't really have that today yet either.
Yeah. So it's like, it's a very strange one, a strange sighting. It's cool that it's stuck with you for so long though.
Oh, dude, it's that whole scenario, and the fact that my father was in Air Force intelligence, and things that he had talked about later in life. I'm talking about after this thing happened, that kicked me off into this hunt. Either kind of bouncing between ancient alien theorists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of that shit does make sense. I don't know. I was suspended in 11th grade for writing. I went to a private Christian school. Suspended in 11th grade for writing a paper on the fact that the Earth is nothing more than a goldfish bowl, that something that we call God created this whole bowl that we live in.
Yeah.
And what we pray to is that God, because we think it's a God. It's just nothing more than an alien being that actually did this to us, made us. And that was in 11th grade, So, and it was at the same time, that this thing happened. Because I was down at the beach on vacation. I had some family that lived down there. We're from up in the mountains, So it was just nuts.
And
but
so,
yeah, that's to this day, I'm still on the hunt. I believe that turned me. That there's no I've not found an explanation for it in this many years. So.
And I mean, when you have an experience like that, or any kind of strange experience that you just cannot, get an answer for, it changes your kind of perspective on things, and everything, because you're like, there's something we don't know, and I've seen it.
Right, I've seen it. Once you finally figure out after 30 years or 40 years, that you can't disprove what you saw. You can't say, oh, that was a kid's balloon or a kid's kite, or you can't disprove it. You've tried everything you can to say that didn't happen, and this is what it was. And then finally you have to sit down and tell yourself, hey, that was something kind of screwed up you saw. You got to figure out where it came from and why.
Yeah, 100%. And when you don't get those answers, you're left in wonderment, which isn't a bad thing, but you're just like, well, what could it be? And it's like, until, maybe there is some tech out there that's deeply classified, that will come out one day and you'll be able to go like, oh, that's what it was. But until that day comes, it's like, you're just left with that bit of like, is what I saw even from here.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, it's such a cool account.
Oh yeah, it was a very cool event. It was something that stuck with me this many years. And the fact that my best friend, when we were talking about it, I just brought it up to him to see if he remembered it. He remembered every detail of it, just like I do. What do you think
happened to the other people?
That is something that he and I actually spoke about. We don't know. I mean, I was that night. I didn't really think about it that night, and I started thinking about it a couple of days later. And then, of course, we're down there cruising the beach again, and run into those same guys, and ask them, "What do you think that was the other night we saw?" Blah blah blah. And they're like, "What are y'all talking about?" We're like, "Really? How can you not remember that?" And then we run into these other two guys, and they're like, "Oh man, that was some weird shit. We can't get it off our minds. We don't know what that was." Yeah. And these people stood there with their mouth open, looking, watching it, and turned around and went right back to what they were doing like nothing happened.
Well, it's one of those weird things too, where it's like, we've heard accounts of people being, paralyzed by these things, or having some sort of.
Don't want to remember.
Yeah,
don't want to remember. Don't accept it.
Maybe yeah, it's just so shocking for some people. They're just like, nope, I choose not to. I ignore it.
Yes, I ignore this.
Yeah. Like,
and that could very well be.
Can't compute, so it's just out of there. That's a wild account, man. JJ, thank you so much for calling and sharing that account. That is phenomenal.
Cool, man. I figured you guys might enjoy it.
Oh, loved it.
Thank you. You guys rock on, man. Enjoyed listening to you guys for, God, I don't know how many years now, but 10 years or better, I guess.
Getting close. I think we're in year 9. We're coming up. Next year is our 10-year anniversary of podcasting.
Well, when it first hit, a friend of mine that's kind of heavier into it than I was at the time, he was like, "Man, you got to check these guys out." Hell, I've been listening ever since.
Yeah, we're bringing Prolapser back too now. That
Sweet.
Much to Zell's dismay. I'm bringing it back.
Man, y'all have fun with it though. That was the thing y'all did so good, is y'all had fun with it, man. It's been very appreciative to listen to.
Oh, it's a lot of times, and listen, we're lovers of this topics and stuff too. It's you gotta enjoy this stuff. One is serious, and two, you gotta have some fun with it, because some of these stories are fucking insanely wild, right? So it's like, if you're gonna just sit there and there's other shows if you want it all serious. We're not that show. Right. All right, JJ, thank you so much for calling in.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Take care, brother.
Bye.
Fuck, I love getting UFO calls. We got the silver hot dog right there, the silver cigar. That's might be the first cigar UFO call we've gotten. It's one of the more popular UFOs that people see. Great story. Lines are open 1-833-703-0424. I see you guys on wait. If you're on hold and you get dropped, just call back. It's all good. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm Seth from Chicago.
What's going on, Seth? How's it going?
Hey, I'm going good, man. How you doing?
Not bad. How's Chicago doing?
Oh, it's good. Got no complaints, buddy.
Nice. Good. Is snow flying there yet?
Fuck no.
Soon.
We'll see. What'll happen is it'll be warm. It'll drop down to, I don't know, -32 for a week or two, and then it'll be warm again.
Yeah, I don't know what that negative is. That Celsius you're talking about? Is that the American measurement system? I don't know.
That's the American shit.
Right on. What do you got for us tonight, Seth?
Yeah, so I got a UFO experience that I saw, and let's see, it was about summer of 2013. This happened in a suburb of Chicago called Crystal Lake. It's about northwest suburbs. So it was
Crystal
pretty
Lake.
weird, man. So
is that where Jason is? Camp Crystal Lake? Isn't that where Jason is from?
It is, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, everybody thinks. You know what's funny, dude, is I don't think I've ever seen a full Friday the 13th movie in my life.
You know what? I don't know if I have either, but I just remember we used to play the game Friday the 13th. And,
right, yeah.
And that's I only remember it from the game, Camp Crystal Lake. So
yeah,
already
I get it.
haunted.
He chases people around all slow and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this happened in Crystal Lake, basically, 2013. So it was summer 2013. It happened. So it was a pretty cloudy night, which is kind of a weird thing for seeing a UFO. But it was the only way I can explain it, man, is so. And actually, I wasn't the only one that saw this. I was with my girlfriend at the time too, who I still speak to, and I talked to her recently about it, and she remembers it all just as well as I do. But so basically, we were hanging out in my driveway at the time, and it was just like a circular light, right, in the clouds.
Yeah.
And it just kind of powered up. So, like, the only way I can explain it is, like, you know those light switches you see? It's not a switch, but it's a little knob that you can kind of turn it and dim the light.
Yeah, the dimmer. The old...
Yeah. So I kind of imagine it like one of those in the sky, but you just kind of slowly turn it on, right? So it'd be like,
yeah,
and it would power up, and it was a circular light. And what would happen, man, is this thing would power up, and it would just like power down, right? So like over anywhere from 20 seconds to a minute.
So like a slow pulse. So like a slow pulse up to bright, and then just and then dim back.
Slowish. It would be a couple seconds, you know. So it'd be like, and then it would be a circular light, and it would stay there for, like I said, 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes at most, and then it would power down. And then what would happen after that is, I mean, in a completely different part of the sky, it would power back up. You know what I mean? So maybe.
Oh, so it's not in the same. It's not in the same spot. It's moving as well.
It's moving, yeah. But so here's the thing: is you never actually see the light move across the sky. What would happen is it would power up, and then it would power down, and then you wouldn't see anything, and then a completely different part of the sky would power up again, right?
Yeah.
So we watched it do this, man. I'm not kidding, for probably 20 minutes.
And was it going?
It was wild. And
was it heading in like a linear direction, or was it kind of all over the fucking place?
It was all over the place. So it was I guess so. Our house was. I was thinking about this before I called you. Our house was facing south at the time, so we were looking straight east from the house, and it was pretty much all in the east. You know, but it would power up and it would shut down, and then, I mean, I'm talking probably miles, you know, away, and then it would pop up again in these clouds, right?
Yeah.
And we watched it do this for like fucking 20 minutes, dude. It was wild. And it almost got to the point to where we got bored, and we were like, are we still gonna watch? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it happened for so long, but so basically watched it do this, man, for like a long time, all right? And then it got to the point, so I would guess about 20 minutes we watched it do this. And then, this is the fucking wild part, okay? So then, out of nowhere, dude, jets were fucking shooting across the sky. There's 3 jets that came right above our heads. So it seemed like there was jets scrambled to kind of look into this, you know?
Interesting. Any noise?
Yeah.
Any noise with the light itself, that when it's powering up, powering down? Did you hear any noise, or just silent other than this light?
No noise. And the other thing that's kind of, I guess, I mean, this is a cool experience, but the only thing that disappoints me is I never actually saw a shape that they were, right?
Yeah.
So it's literally all of this was through the clouds. And the first time I saw one, I thought it was just a plane in the sky. You know what I mean? But the way that it disappeared, you could tell it wasn't, because it would like kind of power down. You know, like I said, like with the dimming. But so anyway, so there was 3 planes. There are 3 jets that they were shooting across the sky right above us. And then they turned and went straight towards basically where we saw the UFO, right?
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing is, this entire time we thought it was just one UFO kind of moving around in the clouds. And as soon as these jets like turned and went towards them, we saw it was like boom, and like a light that just shot straight up. It looked like it went straight into space, right? But here's the real interesting part: is one went boom, and then 2 more shot across the sky and straight up into fucking space. What seemed like space. I don't really know the exact direction, but they just shot straight upwards, man. And the interesting thing was that, like, the entire time we thought it was just one thing moving around, but it was 3 that shot straight up into the sky. And I thought that was interesting because there's 3 jets that they kind of sent out, check them out. You know what I mean?
There's, you know, that you bring up an interesting point that I've thought about before, is because some of these times where, you know, we've heard, because I've talked to, you know, radar operators and other people that have seen these things and tracked these things, and they say like one of the things is like they seem to instantaneous travel to different points. But when you're saying that, like, you had the assumption there was only one and it was moving around until you saw them all kind of piece out. And when the jets come, you know, you're describing like on the ground what kind of like radar operators kind of sees, like these things move instantaneously to a different point and then, you know, shoot up in altitude instantly, something that would liquefy a human. But it got me thinking of like maybe some of these things like Commander, the Nimitz and the Tic Tac UFO, where, you know, we have accounts from these pilots saying that these things are moving and then just instantly, you know, going up to 30,000 feet. I wonder if it's not so much these things are moving that fast, or if there's just multiple objects basically showing themselves to our radar capabilities, and just we're just assuming it's just one thing moving that fast, when maybe it's not. Like maybe it's these things are like powering up, powering down, like what you're seeing, and you just happen, like, you actually got a really good view of like how it works, more so than these pilots have, right? And it just got me thinking that maybe we're always thinking these things are moving so fast, but, you know, maybe it's the old there's more than one killer, right? And it's if you remember like Hot Fuzz, right? It's like maybe there's more than one of these ships, and we're just thinking that they're moving that fast, but really it's multiples.
Oh, well, yeah, it's funny you say that, dude, because like you know, we never saw more than one single light in the sky, right? So it'd just be one, and it would power down, like I said, and then it would disappear somewhere else and power up. But the interesting thing is, like, dude, it literally looked like a shooting star that would, like, was just boom, and just went straight up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was interesting because it would go one, boom, and then after that it was 2 others that went right away. And then they were gone, and then the jets just kind of kept flying towards that area, and they kind of went into the cloud, and we didn't see anything after that. You know, that was the last of it. But it's funny you bring up the Nimitz thing, because I actually meant to mention this, but I forgot. But they would kind of like wobble, like you saw in other, like in a lot of UFO videos, right?
Yeah.
So it'd stay in place, but it would kind of just like, I don't know, shake a little bit, you know?
Oh, that's so strange. Especially with the pulse, like the pulse up and pulse down. It's like, I wonder what that is about. I wonder if that has something to do with how they travel, or if they're, you know, maybe it's one of those things where they're just collecting energy from, you know, our atmosphere and stuff, and what you're seeing when they're glowing up is them absorbing static electricity or something, just in the sky.
Yeah. The way I always thought about it was that, like, maybe it's I don't know, like a surveillance thing, you know what I mean, or maybe just like a experiment. Like, I feel like sometimes maybe when we see these things and they make like such big lights that everybody notices, maybe it's just something that they have to do real quick. You know what I mean? And then they get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know, like they can't really avoid being seen, but they can do it real quick and then just shoot off into space. You know what I mean?
It's just such a weird thing. It makes me think that maybe there's some sort of purpose behind what you're seeing, the charge up. You know, is there something to that? Like of when you're seeing them get brighter, are they absorbing something? Like why the pulse? Like, you know, it's obviously more energy is being output to get a brighter light. So, you know, what reasons for that? Or is it just randomly, or is there a purpose to that? Whether it be, you know, charging, or that's how whatever they use light to travel. I don't know. It's such an interesting aspect of the story of like, so like why are the lights pulsing? That's the thing to me. It's like what's the there's obviously something to that, but that's the mystery. It's like why?
Yeah, it's strange, man. I always I don't know, man. I always just thought it. My lasting impression was that was maybe like I said before, like a surveillance thing, like You picture it in like human terms, like maybe they're flashing these lights. It takes quick pictures of everything, below them or something. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Would be the alien equivalent of that, but
or maybe whatever they have some sort of sensors on board where the light you're seeing is just the naked light that we can visibly see, but maybe there's a lot more, going on in like the infrared spectrum and stuff that we can't even process, and the only thing that you could see is this light, pulsing up, but really you're just getting blasted with some x-rays. They're looking at your bones.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, man, it was a wild experience, man. And I might have maybe forgotten about this by now, but the jets like really sealed it to me, mostly because we just thought it was one, and then 3 jets fucking head out straight towards them, and then 3 objects shoot up to the sky, which was like,
what?
I mean, dude, by this point, by the time the fucking thing shot up, like, we saw the jets, and me and my girlfriend were like, holy shit, there's fucking jets now? And then we look over, and they're shooting up in the sky, and we're like, holy shit, man.
What?
And we told so many people about this, too, and it was, I don't know, nobody seemed super interested in it, but...
that's the interesting part of that story, too, is, like, if there's no jets, and you just see these pulses, you're left with this, like, man, what were those? That was so weird. But, like, there's like a cause and effect. You see the jets come, and then these things like show themselves and get the hell out of there. Like they skedaddle out. So it adds to that of like amazement of like, holy shit, there was something there, because obviously these jets were coming to, take a closer peek, and these things, you got to watch these things fuck off at light speed basically to avoid detection.
Oh yeah, definitely, dude. And it's like, I mean, by the time the jets got there, I would guess, I have no fucking clue, but I would guess the jets were miles away from those things at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they just fucking blasted off, and I don't know, man, it's a weird thing. I've never looked up any of the MUFON reports or anything. Maybe, I guess I should probably submit a report and, let people know about it.
When did this happen?
2013. I'm guessing about the summer of 2013. I'm pretty positive. I don't know an exact date, but summer of 2013.
It's always the memberships are pretty, like, because I think you have to get a membership to look back in the like historical archives. I can't remember. It's like $40 or something. But there's photos, videos. You can look up your city and then go through like the dates of your city or where this took place. It's always interesting. Obviously, reports on MUFON, the further back you go, the more sparse they are, because there was various different other reporting agencies before kind of MUFON took over. So the further back you look, the more kind of sparse it gets. But yeah, submit one, and why not? Like, it doesn't hurt. Maybe if you submit one, a researcher will come up and be like, hey, this is actually there's a couple other very similar accounts to this in this area around this time. Never know.
Yeah, I'll do that, man. What do you think was the prominent one around 2013? Like
the biggest?
Would that be MUFON?
Oh, yeah, MUFON was probably the I would say MUFON 2013, yeah. Because we were moving away from other stuff in the 2000s. So yeah, it's probably MUFON at that time. So they'll have good data from 2013.
Cool, man. I'll look into that shit then, definitely.
Yeah. Go check it out. And thank you so much for calling in with that phenomenal story. The sound effects were much appreciated by the chat and myself as well. Really.
Yeah, no problem, dude. Hey, I enjoyed the show. I've been with you guys for a while, and live long and prolapse, baby.
Thanks, Seth. Take care of yourself.
All right, later, bud.
Bye. Yeah, phenomenal call. Phenomenal UFO tale. There's some great UFO calls tonight. Lines are open 1-833-703-0424. You got a story? You seen some lights? Lines are just popping tonight. This is what I'm talking about. Last week, 0 calls. This week, all the calls. Let's go right to the caller. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Braden. This is Daniel in Virginia.
What's going on, Danny? How are you tonight?
Good. Hey, I just heard that last call. What a story.
Yeah, great.
So
no pressure.
Well, I was just I've been wanting to call in and talk some theory with you. I heard you say something in the past about getting some theory calls.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
Well, there's two that I find really interesting, and one is related to the lights seen over Fukushima during the disaster in 2011.
Yeah, the tsunami.
Yeah. So, you know, like, there were, as shown in the documentary Encounters, titled Lights Over Fukushima. It's like season 1, episode 4. I've got it pulled up here. And I remember watching that. And so there's evidence that there was a bunch of lights, you know, pretty typical UFOs seen floating around and dancing up in the sky. And it's really interesting to think about, you know, was that a coincidence or was it not, and what it might mean.
Well,
if,
I mean, I like, listen, lights and UFOs being spotted around nuclear facility. There's what there, I want to say Malmstrom. Is that the one? Is that what it's called? Malmstrom.
Probably.
Nuclear base. Is that the one?
I know there's a lot of
Malmstrom. Malmstrom. There's one around there. You know, and the base went into lockdown because there was some UFO activity. There was also lights in '86 around the Chernobyl, right? People. So it's. I don't think it's, you know, these phenomenon, you know, kind of seem to happen around these nuclear facilities.
They do. Well, sometimes, you know, in these encounters that you probably mentioned, you know, the controls are taken over, and then the nukes are turned on and then turned back off, and, you know, different effects at times. So, you know, with this one in particular, it just kind of makes me wonder. It also depends on, like, what was seen, you know, like if it's something like flying around in the sky versus just lights, you know, because I feel like there's a possibility that somebody could also be faking it too. If it's,
I mean, I always kind of get the sense that, I mean, if we look at the UFO phenomenon, like, you know, take a step back and look at when the UFO phenomenon started to kick off, you know, it's very quickly when we start to unlock, you know, the ability to split the atom, that all of a sudden it's like, not only can we do that, now it's, you know, we're getting all this UFO activity. And we've kind of theorized before that, like, whatever we're doing on a cellular level with these bombs sends a ripple effect that we can't see, that we don't know about, that is picked up on these instruments of these extraterrestrials. And we've also theorized before that, like, you know, life, intelligent life, any kind of intelligent life like ours is rare. Like, life, maybe not, you know, right now in our little bubble, it is rare, but I don't think simple life, microbes and, you know, tardigrades, I think we're going to start to find those everywhere. Just like back in the day, Goldilocks planets were rare. Now they're everywhere. We know they're endless. But I think intelligent life is rare. So when these, you know, extraterrestrials are coming and they can see we're fucking doing these bombs, and they're like, you know, it's almost like watching someone hold a grenade. You're like, the thing's gonna go off. So these things are kind of monitoring the situation, because there is probably some sort of vested interest to preserve intelligent life, the spark of consciousness, because it is rare in the vastness of space.
Absolutely.
So these things, I think, are just monitoring the situation. And I think when you see things like Chernobyl and Fukushima, where there's something in meltdown, I just think it sends, like, you know, whether you want to call them our protectors or watch, but they're just monitoring what's going on, because they're like, this could be it. These guys are fucked up.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of depends too, because a lot of the times, typically in a lot of those UFO cases, it's like stopping something. You know, when there is that nuclear interaction, it's normally kind of like stopping something. It's preventing showing that they have control over it, preventing from nukes from going off. There's one video, I don't know if it sounds familiar, where there's like a missile where they're doing a test, and the thing just like flies by and beams some light at it and like neutralizes it.
Yes, I've seen that video.
So like when I see the incident of Fukushima, sometimes, like, obviously I have no idea, but I'm also slightly suspicious that, there, even if there is something actually going on as far as UFOs and nukes, there could also be like somebody who's sort of trying to play God. Like, there's a while ago that I called in and talked about technology from aerial Burton laser plasma technology. And it's basically like you could watch a video of a much smaller, like, simple hologram formed in the air. And basically, laser plasma hologram, what they do is they ionize particles in the air, and they can create like these shapes and stuff. And I'd be happy to, like I said, it's Ariel Burton, or maybe not Ariel Burton, but laser. I could find the video for you and send it to you again. Anyways, I just imagine that on like a bigger scale, like more commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And because they had to know about it. Like you said, they either got a signal or they knew that it was going to happen. Because, I mean, let me ask you this. Do you think that the U.S. government has figured out how to cause earthquakes yet? Or a different government?
I mean, I could theorize on how to cause some earthquakes with the little plate tectonics and a couple well-placed explosions on fault lines. I'm sure you could trigger stuff. Yeah. I'm sure there's people smarter than me that have figured out a way to, to do that or cause it, or they've actively looked into it.
So I don't think that that's necessarily what happened. I remain suspicious. Like Lao Tzu said that, the best way to win a war is by not having to fight it. And I think that can be seen in like a peaceful way, and also in like a subversive way. But anyway,
the only thing with the Fukushima one is like, the only thing, like, if that thing went, like, so say if we go on the guys that it's a foreign adversary, has the ability to causes a tsunami. I mean, the issue with these nuclear plants going into meltdown like this is it's not that when this happens, when Chernobyl happens, it's not a Russian problem. It's not a Japanese problem. It's a world problem. Like, if these things go into meltdown, like, it's not on one country. If it's in your country that you're having the meltdown, like, yes, it's a big issue for you, but it's a global issue, right? Like, the amount of poisoning that plant leached into the sea is going to have generational effects that we do not see yet. So to me, I would be more inclined to believe that this is an attack by like an adversarial company. So, like, big oil.
They work hard.
Yeah. But like, see, like, as there's a big push for nuclear energy for all of us to be terrified of it because of these meltdowns and stuff. But like, at the end of the day, it's steam. It's steam power is what these nuclear facilities generate, is steam, and it's steam power. But that doesn't, people don't like that. It's this scary nuclear energy, and there's this big whole, kind of push to scare the general public into believing that these things are gonna, just turn into a nuclear bomb or meltdown. So I do think when these things happen, like Fukushima, there is advantageous things to like oil and gas, right? Or, or other energy sectors that don't want, to see nuclear power become more and more a thing, because like nuclear power generates so much that it's hard to monetize, right? You can't just cap that power.
And what was it, JP Morgan, who was funding Nikola Tesla and pulled the funding out when he said he was going to make give the energy for free.
Yeah.
Maybe I know Tesla had like some oscillator technology that like rocked his building once. But to your credit, going back to what you were saying earlier about like the Watchers kind of coming to like maybe protect us, or even to maybe more to your argument before, like help us prevent the disaster from being as bad. One of the way that the guy talked about in the documentary, there's a monk talking about it, and he was just basically saying that he thought they were there to protect him, so they were like, thinking it was a religious thing. So maybe it was a positive thing. But the other topic, theory related, that I'd love to talk about sometime, maybe a different call, would be the moon, and how we scientifically don't actually know how it got there, and what that might mean, and some of the popular
it's super weird
behind that.
You did give me another idea, like when we talk about the Watchers, maybe it's not even to protect us or anything. Maybe it's just they're historians, and if we're gonna snuff ourselves out, they just want to be here to log it for their history of like the rise and fall of the civilization on Earth, and this is what happened. Like they're just here to do just that, observe and report. Right?
Do you think it's a drone? I mean, not like a human drone, but do you think it's unmanned, or do you think it's manned?
Well, I would lean towards that all extraterrestrials that we see on Earth, if they're not going to be, if they're from our physical universe and they're not interdimensional and stuff, the distance is too far for organic material to travel. So I would assume that these things are drones or some sort of, AI or robotics or android or some sort of blend of, of the two, like some sort of android kind of situation. But like for you or me to then go on some sort of long-term flight, it's just not good for our bodies. It's too long. The amount of hurdles to jump over get exponential if you're flying organics, whereas if it's some sort of drone or biomechanical machine, no problem, right? Put them to sleep, shoot them at the speed of light, come to a complete halt. These things don't die, doesn't matter to them.
Well, I think it's also possible that UFOs might just alter time rather than altering matter necessarily. They might create like little time bubble for themselves.
I think that too. I think that makes a lot more sense too when you look at people who have been lifelong experiencers who seem to have the same experience with the same kind of alien, and the descriptions, the aliens never age. They're always the same, that come and visit them throughout their lifetime. And we've kind of maybe it's a lifetime for whoever's involved, but for those aliens that are coming, that's a 25-minute pop in, pop out at different times throughout this person's life. It ain't no thing to them.
And we know it's possible to basically slow time down too.
Yeah. Well, it's like time travel theoretically possible. It's go forward. No problem.
On bullet trains, they have to reset the clocks because they're moving so fast that the clocks move slower.
Yeah. It's fascinating stuff, Daniel. Thank you so much for calling in. Call back and we'll get into the moon and we'll talk about the weird properties of the moon next time.
Cool, man. Thanks for taking the call.
Hey,
Good
Daniel,
talking to you.
Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.
Cheers, bro.
Bye. Listen, you want to call, just shoot the shit on theories. I fucking love theories. That's the heart and soul of alien theorists theorize, is just fucking bullshitting about weird stuff that we all like to think about. Lines are open 1-833-703-0424. First off, whoever called me, that's my brother. That's why. Called me Professor X, and then someone saying you look more like Professor Ecstasy. Canadian Wish Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's Stone Cold Creamery Steve Austin. That you missed a good opportunity there, Duchess. That's okay. Getting just toasted. If they were like beehive species of consciousness, yeah, maybe like a hive mind. I just think if you look at our trajectory, it kind of does seem like we're going to move away from, we're going to give rise to the next thing in evolution, and that'll be some sort of AI, and that'll be the next, kind of leap in our evolutionary chain, and that's something we create. So I kind of think that if you extrapolate that of like our path of what we're going, that's kind of how I look at extraterrestrials. The one hugging me. Yeah, let me go. That being said, I don't know. I know I told it on ATT, but I didn't tell it on Cosmic Channel. I should retell it. I had a weird lights encounter, since we're on the term of kind of UFOs tonight. Excuse me. So we got time for one more call. I'll tell my story, and if anyone wants to call and interrupt it, feel free. 1-833-703-0424. So a little context to my story. I had gone to Little Caesars to pick up some crazy bread. It wasn't quite ready. So as I'm sitting there, I'm just kind of putting on my phone, and I see on Facebook there is someone on like the local rant and rave page is saying that like, hey, the whole mall complex is shut down. They have police tape everywhere. There's some sort of police incident going on. And so I'm like 10 minutes out from this, and I'm thinking in my head, well, maybe I'll drive down there and kind of, I'm nosy. Nothing wrong with that. I like to creep. No big deal. I'll drive by, do a little looky-loo action. And I just tell you guys that so later on you can see why my brain kind of leaps to where it goes. I decide just to go home. So I'm driving down this road called Evergreen. It's a little straight road, kind of goes a little bit out of town, comes to a four-way stop. There's not a lot out there. There's some subdivisions, but I live in a pretty small town. So as I'm coming up to the four-way stop, I look and into my right, just above the tree lines, pretty, like, not too high in the sky, I see a red and blue light kind of hovering. And my brain instantly goes to police helicopter. There's a police incident. My brain just goes, police helicopter. That's what it is. I don't even really kind of think about it. My brain just goes, police helicopter. And I pull up to the four-way stop. And as I kind of pull up, I see, it's just kind of hovering. It's not really moving. And I see in the middle, there's a red and blue. And then all of a sudden, right in the middle, a white light turns on. So now I'm looking at like a red, white, blue. USA. So now I'm thinking, oh, that's kind of weird. I've never seen a helicopter look like that. So then I'm going, oh, it's got to be a plane. I'm looking at the front. There's a light, and those are the wing lights, on either tip, the red and blue. And then all of a sudden, as I'm looking at it, it just switches, and it goes the red and blue switch. So it goes red, but then instead of blue, it goes green. So now I'm looking at red, white, green. And so in my head, I just pulled. This is all happening right as I'm pulling to a stop. It kind of happens very quick. Now I'm thinking in my head, I'm going, oh, that was weird. It's got to be one of those quadricopters, the drone. And what I'm seeing is a quick spin. So right, that's why I'm still seeing the center light, but the two, there's probably 4 different lights on the 4 propellers. That's what I'm thinking in my head. And I'm about to turn, and then I start thinking, it's kind of weird. Get out of your car, just listen, and I'll be able to hear either the helicopter or like the whirl of a drone. Bzz, the drone noise, because this thing isn't that high in the sky. So I throw in park, and my phone was in the other seat. I was listening to music, and I didn't even think, honestly, I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna open the door because I do this show. I do Alien Theorist. I should just do my due diligence and just listen for, whatever noise. Eliminate it. I'm sure it is. So I get out of the car, and it's total silence. So now I'm just kind of looking at this thing, and I'm going, like, what is this? I'm so just staring at it, and it's just sitting in the sky, just suspended. And I'm kind of blown away. I'm just at all like staring at this thing. And now I'm trying to like really try to look hard because it's dark to see if I can see a shape. I can kind of see like a round shape, but I can't really tell because it's too dark. And then literally it kind of just tilts a little bit, and I can tell it tilts just because of the white light, and it just starts moving forward. And the second it starts moving forward, it sounds like honestly like a trolling motor, like bum, 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 bum. And so then I'm thinking in my head, like, we have a ton of float planes, and I'm like, is that a float plane? And it just slowly drifts, like super slow, just like bum, bum, like it's trolling in the sky, and it kind of flies over my head just to my right a little bit. And as it flies above me, underneath just goes from the tip of where it's flying, goes 1, 2, 3. White lights light up underneath it. Boom, boom, boom. And then it just keeps going. Bum, 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 bum. And it goes super slow, and then it drifts, banks left, starts going towards the ocean, and I lose it in the tree lines. And I was just kind of like, what the fuck was that? Like, that was so weird. It was so slow. Marked the time. I gave Zell a call right away, told him what I saw. Then I did everything. I was like, man, I'm going to disprove this. It's going to be a plane. It's going to be a float plane. I went on to the flight tracker. I paid the $40 or whatever to get the premium version, so I could go back in time. There was only two of anything in the sky, 2 commercial aircrafts that could have been. One at the time was in the line of sight where I was seeing this craft, except it was at 40,000 feet and it was a commercial flight flying up north. So that one couldn't have been it. Couldn't have just been what it was. And the other one was a commercial flight 40,000 feet behind me going up. So both are eliminated. It shows helicopters in the sky, none. It shows float planes in the sky, none. And it's just so weird. I'm like, I have no idea what I saw. And I wanted to instantly be like, it's a plane. But it just, everything about it was so fucking strange. And I'm still kind of just, I was so amazed that I went and dropped off Crazy Sticks, and I was like, I'm going back. And I went and just parked the 4-way and just kind of sat there and looked around and waited, hoping I would get a glimpse of this thing again to try to make more sense of it. I'm like kicking myself because I'm like, I wish I pulled my phone out, but it wasn't even a conscious thought. It was, my head was, oh, I'm just going to hear the noise and then I know I'm an idiot. Basically, I never expected to see that. So that's my kind of weird lights in the sky story. I don't know what it was. Some people, one of the best theories that someone has pitched me was that it was a parachuter on one of those, like with those big fans on the back. But I've never seen one of those in this area. So I don't think it kind of accounts for this, because it was just hovering above the subdivision prior to moving. So I don't think a parachuter like that would do that. But I mean, interesting. Let me know what you think. If you're on our Discord, I posted the whole thing, I think, under UFO aliens. I posted it in chronological order. Literally, I logged it. That's going to be the most accurate depiction of what happened, because I think I wrote that probably within 20 to 25 minutes after I saw it, what happened. I just logged everything from my memory, posted all the screenshots, posted all the flight log information and stuff, and didn't find anything. So, check it out. Let me know what you think. That's going to be it for this week, Cosmic Channels. So thank you. Hey, everyone who's been listening to the show. New podcast out today. Go check it out. Leave a 5-star review. Spotify, Apple iTunes. That really helps the show. And thank you to everyone who called in tonight. JJ, Daniel, Kyoto. Who else called? I'm forgetting everyone's name. Seth. We can't do the show without the calls. And you guys are the heart and soul of the show. So thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate it. If you want to help out the show, you want to donate to the conference, little QR code up there. Help us get some ads, keep growing the show. But, appreciate you all. Thank you so much for helping me grow this show. Before we go, let's go into the chat. Was there any questions before we go? I'm going to do more answering from the questions in the chat. Ancient architects are ancestors for more than 12,000 years ago. Listen, Younger Dries, you guys know we love that. How much history? No, among a plethora of many things. How much of that history do we claim to know? Recorded history is about 5,000 years, going back to Sumer in Egypt. Sumerian in Egypt. We don't know. Listen. The next call, listen, if you want to call in right now, you can. It's going to be next week. Next week, baby, November 14th. Every Thursday night, 6 to 7, 7:30ish, depending how many callers we get going. If there's no callers like that last week, I can only sit here for like 35, 40 minutes of just me talking to myself. It's the thing about human history is we don't have the fucking slightest idea how far back it goes. You just got to look no further than Gobekli Tepe to know that like our history books need some serious rewriting because an ancient civilization 12,000 years ago built a megalithic structure, backfilled it on purpose, and it seemed a mile above sea level with no water in sight, and seems to be the birthplace of agriculture. So that blows when we were supposed to be hunter and gatherers out of the water. So it'll be interesting. It's only going to get cooler and cooler, and we're only going to make more and more discoveries the more we're looking. How about that big drug bust in BC, and they only arrested one guy? Is that the one in Falkland? There was a huge fucking fentanyl bust. Basically, they were like Breaking Bad style fentanyl lab, one of the most sophisticated fentanyl labs they've ever seen in Falkland. And Falkland, for anyone who doesn't know, is a I always get in trouble. I get myself in trouble because I say these things. I'll say like a butthole town where there's nothing there, and someone will be like, "I'm from Falkland and I hate your show now." It's a butthole town. There's nothing there. They got a little rodeo. It's a drive-through town. They got one gas station. They got a flea market sometimes, but it's wild that you have in this small community. How many people live there? Falkland, BC population. Like this is how many people? There's fucking 878 people live in Falkland, and they had in their town $1 billion fentanyl lab built into a house. I'm like, the craziest thing to me is I'm like, listen, in a town that size, everybody knows everyone and everyone knows everyone's business. The fact that only one person got arrested blows my mind, because I'm like, how the fuck did that go unnoticed for that long in this small of a community? Listen, they only got, I think the best thing in Falkland, Outback Jack's horse rescue thrift shop. That's it. West Bumblefuck town. Yeah, listen, there's nothing in Falkland. It sucks. Yeah, definitely calling in next week. Not even that. The text need a rewrite. You say keep an open mind would be a start. Yeah, or like, I don't think everything we're teaching has to be so matter of fact. It could be like our best estimates, our best guesses, our best assumptions based on the data at the time we have it. And because, when we're looking at these things like ancient civilizations and human history, we get into theories really quick. Like we just, the whole history of humanity that we learned growing up in school. I'm a 90s kid growing up, is like not factual anymore. Like it just is not really the case for anything that we learned. So it should have been. Yeah, it should all be. You should be taught like this is what we know now, and it is open to drastic change at the drop of the hat if we get better information. I think that'd be a better way to put it. But the school system's only as good as your teachers, and I was a teacher for a while, so it goes to tell you the state of that. And then you got guys like Dan who can't stand being a teacher anymore because how bad it is. So it's like you lose the good teachers, you keep the bad teachers. Anyways, all right. Well, that's going to be it for this episode of Cosmic Channel. Thank you all. Listen, you got stories. See you next week, November 14th, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you all there. That's it for Cosmic Channel. Signing off. The Cosmic Lines are now closed. Peace, everybody.